What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links top 5 video. In today's top 5, we're going to be diving into the top 5 worst UR cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Now, before we get into this list, I do got to clarify a few things. First of all, this whole list is my opinion. So, if you guys have a differentiating opinion on, the worst top 5 cards in Duel Links, feel free to go to the comment section down below and tell me your guys' worst cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links when it comes to the UR cards, because I probably have missed a card considering there's like 253 different UR cards in Duel Links. So I probably missed one or two for this list. Another thing I want to mention too is that I'm not going to include certain UR cards into this list. And some examples that I'm not going to include into the list is stuff like Axe Raider, Dumine's Dark Witch, and Blazing Apache. I don't want to add those cards into the list simply because at the time they were UR worthy, simply because just back in the day you could summon them onto the field for about pretty much no drawback whatsoever, and they had high attack. That's why they were classified as URs back in the day, but clearly now they're outdated simply because there's now rare cards that clearly outclass them. But like I said, back in the day, there were just monsters that you can easily summon onto the board for no drawback whatsoever, and they had some really high attacks. That's why I don't want to include those cards in the list. Some other cards, or some other UR cards that I don't want to add to the list is stuff like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Insect Queen, Dark Magician Girl. Cards like that I don't want to add to the list either, simply because they are UR cards that are iconic to the show, and they are the character unlock cards. Like, there's every time you unlock a new character into Duel Links, automatically they have one UR card that's iconic to them, and that's why it's classified as a UR card. So I don't want to add those to the list either, simply because, yeah, some of them are pretty garbage, but since they're an iconic card, I just don't want to put it into the list, because I don't want the list to just be like all of these crappy cards that we all know. I kind of want to talk about some cards that no one really knows about, and I kind of want to talk trash about them, because when I was researching cards for this list, they were pretty bad, to be honest. So that's why in this list you're going to see some cards that you probably won't have seen before. And yeah, so now that I got those conditions out of the way, let's go dive into the list of the top 5 worst UR cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Coming up at the number 5 spot, I'm going to be talking about Sky, Scourge, and Rise. This is an 8-star light fairy with the effect. This card cannot be normal summon or set. This card cannot be special summon except by removing from play 3 light fairy type monsters and 1 dark fiend monster in your graveyard. Once per turn, you can remove from play 1 face of monster on the field. If you activate this effect, this card cannot attack during this turn. This card has an attack of 2400 and a defense of 1500, and this card released in the Valkyrie's Rage box on February 22nd of 2017. Let's go dive into how this card is kinda garbo in my opinion. So first of all, the summoning condition to get this card out is just way too specific and just way too difficult to pull off. You need to specifically remove 3 light fairy monsters from your graveyard. Also, you need to remove 1 Dark Fiend monster from your graveyard just to summon this card. And then also, with its effect, once per turn, you can remove from play 1 face of monster in the field. If you activate this effect, this card cannot attack during this turn. That effect is kind of good on paper, but considering how difficult it is to get the card out in the first place, and then on top of it, when you use its effect to remove or banish a face-up monster on the field, you can't even attack with this monster. And it's like, why do you gotta hurt this card like this? And the worst part is, the only way to summon this card is only through a special summon. Like, it's just way too specific and way too much of a hassle just to pull off. And like, currently I just don't think it's a worthy of a UR card. Especially, it's just like, and to be honest, like, while this is an extremely old card, at the same time when this card first dropped into Duel Links, I doubt there was like really any way to summon it in the first place. And then right now in 2018, I feel like it's still way too difficult to summon. So like, from the past and when this was released in 2017 to now, where it's a little easier to summon it, of course, but still just way too much of a hassle to do in the first place, I don't think this card is worthy enough to be a UR card. It's just way too much of a hassle to pop off in the field. Now, I know that there's more Sky Scourges. I noticed that there's more cards like of Sky Scourge. There's like, it's a whole archetype for it, but I think currently this is like one of the only just Sky Scourge cards in the game right now. So without its support, this card's just not that good of a UR card. So I gotta put this card in the 5 spot. I think it has some potential in the future, but right now, from when it first dropped into the game to now, it's pretty garbo. But let's go move on to the number 4 spot. Coming up in the number 4 spot, I placed Yellow Baboon, Archer of the Forest in the number 4 spot. This is a 7-star Earth Beast with the effect when a Beast-type monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard. You can remove from play 2 Beast-type monsters in your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. This card has an attack of 2600 and a defense of 1800, and this card came out in the Land of Titans mini box on May 11th of 2017. Now, this card is just kind of meh, in my opinion. It's like, I don't know why they made this card a UR. It's just pretty mediocre, especially compared to its counterpart. Its counterpart to Green Baboon, Defender of the Forest, it's just much, much better and easier to summon out compared to Yellow Baboon, and that's why I kind of put this card in the 4th spot, simply because there's another card that's exactly like Yellow Baboon, but it's better, which is Green Baboon, Defender of the Forest. And basically, Green Baboon, Defender of the Forest's effect is the exact same as Yellow Baboon, except that summoning condition is if a face-up beast monster you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can pay 1,000 light points to special summon this card. So, like, Green Baboon's effect is much easier to pull off. You can use the paying life points effect to benefit yourself with certain skills that you're playing if you design your deck around that, and then it's just more versatile compared to the Yellow Baboon, Archer of Forest. So that's why I kind of wanted to put Yellow Archer in or Yellow Baboon in the 4th spot, simply because it's just outclassed by it's another card that's in the exact same mini box. So it's like, I feel bad for my boy, but it's the truth. Coming up in the number 3 spot, I'm going to be placing Asura Priest at the number 3 spot. This card is a 4-star Light Fairy Spirit effect. It cannot be special summoned. During the end phase of this turn, this card is normal summoned or flipped face up. You return it to the hand. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. This card has an attack of 1700 and a defense of 1200. And this card is also from the Valkyrie's Rage main box, which came out on February 27th of 2017. Now, the reason why I put this card at the number 3 spot is that there's a lot of things holding this card back, especially for how it's placed in a UR. I'm kind of surprised. So first of all, it is a spirit monster. With all spirit monsters during the end phase on the turn this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you have to return it back to the hand. Now there is cards like Mirror of Yata that do help your spirit monsters to stay on the board without returning back to you, so that's going to be alright, but you're not going to always have Spirit of Yata and Asura Priest in the same hand to get that combo off. Another thing too is that while its effect of attacking all monsters your opponent controls once each is alright, the issue is that its attack is kind of lacking, especially in like today's meta in 2018. The attack of only having 1700 attack is extremely lacking to even get a benefit of attacking a ton of monsters at once. You're going to need some other equip card to equip it to this card to keep it on the board and to like attack a bunch of monsters at the same time. So it just feels like way too much of a hassle to use and to effectively use its ability properly. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Another thing too is that I still think this card was pretty garbage when it first released, because like, let's be real here, right now in 2018 this card is extremely bad, but going back to February 27 to 2017, there's a lot of things that were still holding this card back. You know, the spirit thing, the fact that one of the most popular skills at the time, Power of Dark, which is one of the Yami Yugi's skills, where he automatically starts to duel with Yami on the board. That boosts up all of his dark, like, fiend monsters and stuff like that. It's like, what is it, spellcasters and fiend monsters by 200, but then also decreases the attack of fairy monsters. And since the Asura Priest is a fairy monster, its attack got dropped to like lost 200 attacks. This is a 1500 monster straight off the bat if you're going against Power Dark, which was really common back in the day, so that kind of hindered it. Another card that was in this box that was like Demise Dark Witch was an 1800 4-star monster, which was already stronger than Asura Priest, so good luck using this card to attack into the Demise Dark Witch. So overall, there's just a lot of things already holding it back from when it first debuted until now, where it's like even worse than what it was before. So yeah, I don't know, this card is pretty garbage, and that's why I put it at the number 3 spot. Coming up at the number 2 spot, we have Tri-Fortress Tops. This is a 6-star Dark Machine with the effect during either player's turn. If your opponent summoned 3 or more monsters this turn, you can special summon this card from your hand. If summoned this way, it is unaffected by other cards' effects in it, but it loses 500 defense during each player's standby phase. This card has an attack of 1600 and a defense of 2800, and this card was released in the Galactic Origin main box from November 6th of 2017. Now, the reason why I put Tri-Fortress Tops in the number 2 spot is simply because this card is just not that consistent. First of all, you have to be going against a deck that is going to you know, commonly summon 3 or more monsters in a turn. So of course that could be like Hazy or for hire. So that's pretty good right there. But the issue is that you're not always going to go against those decks. And besides with that, even if you did go against those decks would still easily get over Trifortress Top, because this card only has 2800 defense. And if you're going against for hires, most likely they're playing Beatdown, and Beatdown's going to get over that easy peasy lemon squeezy. Same thing if you're going against Hazy. If you're going against Hazy, they're most likely going to play Beatdown, and Beatdown can get over 2800 defense, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Another thing that sucks about it too is that while it is unaffected by card effects, which is nice, the issue is with that is that still your opponent's going to be able to get over it, you know, just easy, like I said, if you're going against Hazy or for hire, which is going to be one of the few times you're going to be able to pop off Trifortress Tops. And another thing too is that during each player's standby phases, it's going to lose defense. So even if your opponent couldn't get over it on that turn, it's going to eventually get over the card. Because it loses 500 defense each turn. Like, why does it do that? I don't understand. It only has an attack of 1600, so good luck getting over your opponent's monsters if you're going against for hire and Hazy, and overall it's just not that good of a card. So I mean, yeah, just comboed with the fact that you're not going to always go against decks that are just going to spam summon just a bunch, and then if you do go against a spam summon deck, they're going to be playing something like Beatdown, because these spam summon decks are for hire and Hazy and for hire can take care of this card easy peasy. This card is not a good UR. Maybe in the future it will be, but I don't see this card seeing any play anytime soon, especially because this card has been almost out for a year, and yeah, it hasn't been seeing any play whatsoever. So yeah, this card at the number 2 spot. Coming up at the number 1 spot, we have Neo Flamvell Saber. This is a 4-star fire pyro with the effect: while your opponent has 4 or less cards in their graveyard, this card gains 600 attack, and while your opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, this card loses 300 attack. This card has an attack of 1500 and a defense of 200, and the way to get this card is from the Galactic Origin main box, another card that's from this box, and this box was released on November 6th of 2017. So yeah, Neo Flamvell is just not a good card, and you know, it's on the list number 1, all that shenanigans, but still, yeah, this card is just not that good, because while its first effect, where it says 4 or less cards in your graveyard, this card gains a attack, which is all right, because, you know, attack of 2100 isn't too bad. The second effect, where it's like your opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, this card loses 300 attack, and if your opponent has 5 or 6 cards in their graveyard, this card doesn't get the bonus attack. It's just like way too random and just not consistent enough to be classified as a UR card. Like, I don't know why they threw this card as a UR card, because the effect is just meh. It's just a meh effect, and it's just not that good at all, and I don't think it deserves to be a UR card whatsoever. And I mean, I think this card could be better in the future if we get some more Flamvell support, because I do notice from the few other cards that we have in Duel Links currently that are also Flamevells, there's like one other Flamvell card called Flamvell Shaman, and one of its effects is that if you have 3 or more Flamevells in your graveyard, if you destroy an opponent's monster with this card, you can select a card from your opponent's graveyard and remove it from play. That would be kind of good and would make, you know, Saber a little bit more useful, because I'm gonna assume that if with more Flamvell support will make it to where you can banish a lot of your opponent's graveyard stuff and all that shenanigans. Maybe Saber will be more consistent, but at the same time, just Flamvell Saber is not going to have that good consistency, simply because we don't have a lot of Flamvell stuff in the game as it is. So, it's a pretty mediocre card. Well, I think that wraps up this top 5 for today's, top 5. Thank you guys so much for watching from start to finish if you did. And if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to go hit that like button down below. And if you guys are new to the channel and like this type of content, hit that subscribe button so you get notified when I make more content like this. But yeah, just thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I'll go see you guys in the next one. Peace out.